That's not your filling station. That's the embalming machine you bought.
Yeah, it is an embalming machine. He said it was in service from 1962 to 2009. He estimates 14,000 bodies were embalmed by this machine.
And now you're using it to pump in and out the transmission fluid on the EldoROD.
Let me get this little hose over there. There's the fill port here. Put my fluid in there.
That noise just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Welcome to Hoovie's Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube. And we had our first big snow here on the farm. Actually, the biggest snow in the area in almost 10 years. And I couldn't help myself. I had to get the 62 Corvette out to do some donuts around my new circle drive. But not only that, it's actually more capable off-road currently than my 2014 Ford Raptor, which has broken. It's actually the second time I've done this to a Ford Raptor, but more on that in a little bit. Also, the bulk of today's video is going to be about the EldoRODo, my 1999 Cadillac concept, and how you all helped me unearth a lot of information about it, including some very bad news. This car shouldn't still exist. It was supposed to be destroyed, and there's going to be a big issue with me going forward. Now, despite that, I'm still going to get this EldoRODo running and driving as well as possible, but I do need to get up there first with this Raptor since it's so terribly broken. So let me show you what's happened. So the first time this happened to me was with my old Raptor, not the Border Patrol one, but the one with 200,000 miles on it that was rusty, bought for my third season of car issues, and we went out to some sand dunes to have some fun, and it didn't last very long, unfortunately, because the front right axle decided to snap off at a very random point, and that's the exact same thing that's happened here. You can see there's the shock, the special Raptor shocks, and what should be a front axle shaft going to the hub, but instead it's not connected at all, and it's dangling on the lower control arm, just sitting there. If I engage four-wheel drive, that thing just spins and does nothing. But even more difficult is the fact that if I take a right turn a little too hard, it'll actually stop the wheel from turning. It'll actually jam things up, rub on the tire, and could pop a tire right now. So I have to take it easy on hard right turns, like for parking and that kind of stuff. So it's still drivable. In the sand dunes, I needed four-wheel drive, so I was stuck. I had to get pulled out with a tractor. But in this case, I am able to drive at least up to the Car Wizards in two-wheel drive, which on a truck with a very light unloaded bed, it's pretty useless. The Corvette was doing better out here maneuvering around, to be honest with you. And I'm wondering if this is a common failure with the Raptors, or if I'm just special and I'm able to do this twice. Is this my magic gift of breaking Raptors? But anyway, we'll see what the wizard thinks, and we'll check on the EldoRODo, see what he's done so far. Yeah, this thing needed some work anyway. There's still that broken exhaust and worn out suspension. A few other little things to fix. But 306,000 miles, still very impressive. Whew, made it. And the axle is still, it's still just hanging there. Wizard! Wizard! Oh, look what you're working on. Wow. C10, what year?
71.
71, this thing is mint. My 72's over there. I'm gonna have to drive it home today. It's finished, right?
Yeah, speaking of trucks, how's your towing channel going?
I haven't towed anything since with the Ford Lightning, so it's not a towing channel. Despite what Alex Jones says.
Yeah.
So what little motor's that, like a 327?
I think this is a 350, but they've had somebody else work on it, and they scrambled the whole ignition system. It's all out of whack. I'm getting it back lined out. There's not many old guys that work on this stuff anymore, and I'm turning into an old guy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, Wizard has a surgical event coming up, yes. So he's gone Hollywood. He's getting a nose job. You know, he just wants to look better for you guys, right?
Yep, try to straighten up this little crooked area here.
Well, actually, he's got some breathing problems when he sleeps and snoring and stuff. But a byproduct, you're going to have a new fancy nose.
A straight, nice, perfect nose.
But I actually came up here to drop off the Raptor. I've done this again, and I don't know why it keeps happening.
You already broke it?
Yes, yeah. So once again, take a look in there. A four-wheel drive Raptor is no longer four-wheel drive.
That's exactly what happened to the last one.
Yeah, on the right side, front right, but instead of sand dunes, it's me goofing around in the snow. Wow. And yeah, isn't that quite a mess there?
Wonderful.
So what do you think is causing that? Because you're supposed to be able to jump and have fun in a Raptor, but both times that I've done it, it explodes and then I have no four-wheel drive and it's pretty much useless.
It has to be something like the wheels are turned and you're landing, so it's like pulls the shaft at its maximum. I mean, it just pulls it completely out of the socket or something.
But is it a defect, or is it slop in the suspension with high mileage where it pulls a little too much, or?
It might be high mileage. It shouldn't do that. I mean, how many miles did your last one have?
Over 200, and this one's 306,000
That might
miles.
be it, as it gets worn, floppy, and then it gets loose and just comes apart.
Well, I do have some updates for people on the Cadillac. A lot of cool new information, but it looks like you started working on the EldoRODo, huh?
Yes, it's a really cool car. We found out your air suspension in the back is a fully operational system, but for whatever reason, someone in the past, you can actually see the marks on the tubing. Someone just cut the line. I have no idea why they would do that.
Is that how they lowered it?
No, I mean, it sits too low in the back. It's not supposed to be that low.
Maybe they didn't want it to run, but the pump does run. That's really weird. So you're going to hook it all back up and see if it works, huh?
Yes, we'll get that all working for you.
Okay, it looks like you've got the power steering pump out.
Yep. We've got the new one ready to go in. That'll solve that humming noise you were having in the engine bay.
Right.
And I have a picture. I'll show you what I've ordered, an idea for your cameras that you want.
Yeah, on this EldoRODo, they have no mirrors on it. They have a little camera in here, or a simulation of a camera, but no screens inside. It was an idea they had and they never implemented it.
So I'm going to get a rear view camera system that actually has two separate monitors inside the mirror.
Okay.
We'll take apart these cameras and pull the little camera portion out and run wiring and to those already pre-made.
So I can flip a switch and have a side view mirror in my rear view mirror. And
Yes.
it'll be totally seamless. I won't have extra screens.
I can even do it where you put it into reverse or a switch, whatever you want to do, or both.
Well, that works for me.
You will lose your OEM mirror with the compass and all this fancy stuff on there, but
I think that's probably the seamless, most elegant way to have side view mirrors and keep in the spirit of this crazy thing, which I have a lot more information to tell you all about. But what else are you doing here?
actually I'm getting ready to fill this with transmission fluid. We just did the filter and drain the fluid. So let me get my little filling station, that's what I call it, over here.
That's not your filling station. That's the embalming machine you bought.
Yeah, it is an embalming machine.
Was it used for bodies before?
Yeah, I actually got it from a guy, Cadillac Pat. He has his own channel called Home of Chrome. But he gave this to me. He said it was in service from 1962 to 2009. He estimates 14,000 bodies were embalmed by this machine.
And that's taking out human blood and putting in stuff that doesn't make the body decompose,
Yeah,
right?
formaldehyde or something like that, yes.
And now you're using it to pump in and out the transmission fluid on the
Yes.
EldoROD.
Let me get this little hose over there. There's the fill port here. And then I'll just put in, you can see it's got deviations here, how much you want to put in. I
For
would have been
quarts?
formaldehyde at one time, how much formaldehyde you want, but
I wonder how much it takes for a human body.
I don't know. You'd have to ask Cadillac Pat, but put my fluid in there. Looks kind of like blood. We drained out about 5 quarts. This has 4, so we'll just empty this thing out, and then when we're ready, we'll start it.
Okay.
So you can adjust the pressure. This would have been for arteries and veins at some point. And flow.
Increasing the flow. That noise just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And we're at 2,000 something RPM. Oh, okay. Increasing pressure, increasing flow.
I don't want to go too high and blow fluid everywhere, but yeah, if I can feel exactly what I want, walk away, it'll do its thing.
All right, well, I'll leave you to your work. I suppose it functions, but it's very creepy, Wizard.
It is very creepy. I like it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go sit inside the EldoROD if that's all right.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
Update people on all the cool stuff I found about this car. Kind of a sad thing about this car, too. It really shouldn't still be alive. It's supposed to be crushed.
It's supposed to be crushed?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so the bad news on my EldoRODo, and I knew when I bought this, is I bought it on a bill of sale only. There's no title for this car, and that's because GM, when they did sell this thing, it was issued a junk title, or a certificate of destruction nowadays is what it's called, meaning the car can never be titled and registered for road use ever again under this VIN number, which is absolutely terrible. But most of these concept cars built by GM were destroyed after their intended use or put into their museum. Now this one probably sat in storage or in their museum for a while, and then when GM went bankrupt, anything of value during a bankruptcy needs to be sold that's not being used in the restructuring. So all of these museum cars, all these show cars got sold off because they had some value. They didn't get crushed like they normally did, which is probably how Alex Legit Street Cars got his crazy van, which is much more of a concept car than this. But they still did call this a concept car, even though it was based on a 99 EldoRODo. And you viewers who are much better at working Google and the internet than me found so much information, including this awesome poster that's being sold on eBay, one of the promotional photos with a 59 Cadillac, a modern EldoRODo of the same year, and then this EldoROD in some sort of dry lake bed in such a stunning, gorgeous image. I had to buy it. But also, finally, we have the full scoop, a press release in the LA Times about this Cadillac, which it says, Cadillac extends salute to the area hot rod industry. In a tribute to the hot rod enthusiasts of Southern California, Cadillac will be exhibiting a 2000 EldoRODo Touring Coupe lowrider at the LA Auto Show. It's not really a lowrider. Dubbed the EldoRODo, the vehicle is created by a team of General Motors designers in collaboration with California Street Rods of Huntington Beach. I knew that, but here's a little explanation of why this car was created. The EldoRODo is Cadillac's way of celebrating the creativity of the hot rod culture in Southern California, said John Smith, GM's vice president at Cadillac. For years, the flair of these vehicles has been expressed in the personalities of the builder and driver, similar to what the EldoRODo has done for its owner base over the last 50 years. But then they talk about how it's been dropped 4 inches by chopping and channeling the body, and then lowered another 2 inches. Now the windshield was actually raked 10 degrees. That's how they were able to get it to be the stock glass in the front and rear. They just tilted it back 10 degrees to make it lower, and that makes a lot of sense. Now there's some other newspaper clippings out there from back in the day basically saying the same thing. They're going off a press release, but there's some cool photos with it. But probably the jackpot, the mother lode, was somebody sending over this video of the 1999 Detroit Motorama where this EldoRODo is actually videoed as the guy's walking around almost like he's YouTube vlogging in 2000 or 1999, looking around all of the cars, including this EldoROD, which he spends a lot of time going over it. So it was likely unveiled at the Los Angeles Auto Show, then went to Detroit for another show, and then I don't really know what happened to it. It must have sat in storage or in a museum, and thankfully it wasn't destroyed. Now what I haven't found out is how this car was saved. Where was it? Where was it shown? And I haven't seen too many magazine clippings of it yet. Only one so far, and that's from a German hot rod sort of magazine where this was featured in it with some beautiful photos in German, basically talking about the specs of the car and the build. But I imagine it was in other magazines. I just haven't had any sent over yet. Just some beautiful photos and that awesome video. But the biggest obstacle, obviously, is going to be this car's status, its title, that certificate of destruction, which is possible to get around. There is a way to get it into a salvage rebuilt title in some states, not in Kansas, but it's definitely a process, and I definitely need to go through that process if I ever want to tag this car and drive it as a legally registered vehicle. For now, since I have a dealer's license, dealer plate, I can pop it on the back to get around, but still, there's a long way to go before this thing is drivable. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but Wizard is hard at work with an embalming machine making it all happen. And of course, I'll update you on all the progress with the EldoRODo. But in my next video, I bought another rare GM vehicle that has a lot of documentation, and it was on a lot of magazine covers back in the day. So excited for this one. And as always, thank you so much for watching.